Welcome back to our last video. I hope you have enjoyed this book so far, guys, because I really have. Last chapter, we really got a good conversation between Opal and the preacher, her daddy, kind of about her mama. This whole time, guys, I was kind of hoping Mama would show up again and come back, but it kind of looks like she's not going to. Who knows? We still have 2 chapters left. But I don't know if Mama's gonna pop back up in this book, and I think we can see that Opal's doing more okay with it. More now, she's just kind of focused on Winn-Dixie and taking the advice of Gloria of kind of holding on to things and loving them when you got them. But she's not ready to let go of Winn-Dixie yet. So the preacher and Opal were still looking, hollering for Winn-Dixie. At the same time, they were walking back to town. So we'll see where these last 2 chapters take us. All right. We heard the music before we even got to Gloria Dump's house. We heard it almost a block away. It was a guitar playing and singing and clapping. I wonder what's going on, said my father said. Oh, she's starting to refer to him as her father. We walked up Gloria's sidewalk and around the back, through her yard and into the kitchen, and what we saw was Otis playing guitar, and Miss Franny Block and Gloria sitting there smiling and singing, and Gloria holding Sweetie Pie in her lap. Amanda and Dunlap and Stevie were sitting on the kitchen floor, clapping along and having the best possible time. Even Amanda was smiling. I couldn't believe they were so happy when Dixie was still missing. We didn't find him, I shouted at them. The music stopped and Gloria Dump looked at me and said, Child, we know you didn't find him. You didn't find him because he was right here all along. She took her cane and poked at something under a chair. Come on out of there, she said. There was a snuffle and a sigh. He's asleep, she said. He's plumb wore out. She poked around with her cane again, and Winn-Dixie stood up from underneath the chair and yawned. Winn-Dixie, I hollered. Dog, Gertrude squawked. Winn-Dixie wagged his tail and showed me all of his teeth and sneezed. I went pushing past everybody. I dropped to the floor and wrapped my arms around him. Where have you been? I asked. He yawned again. How did you find him? I asked. Now there's a story, said Miss Franny. Gloria, why don't you tell it? Well, said Gloria Dump, we was all sitting around waiting on you two, and after I convinced these Dewberry boys that I ain't no scary witch, all full of spells and potions. She ain't no witch, Stevie said. He shook his bald head and looked kind of disappointed. Nah, said Dunlap. She ain't. If she was, she would have turned us into toads by now. He grinned. I could have told you that she wasn't a witch. Witches don't exist, said Amanda. They're just myths. All right now, said Gloria. What happened was we got through all them witchy things, and then Franny said, why don't you have a little music while we wait for you two to get back? And so Otis played his guitar. And whoo-wee, there ain't a song he don't know. And if he don't know it, he can pick it up right quick if you hum it to him. He has a gift. Gloria stopped and smiled over at Otis, and he smiled back. He looked all lit up from the inside. Tell what happened, Sweetie Pie said. Tell about that dog. So, said Gloria, Franny and me, we started thinking about all these songs we knew from when we were girls. We got Otis to play them, and we started singing them, teaching the words to these children. And then somebody sneezed, Sweetie Pie shouted. That's right, said Gloria. Somebody sneezed. And it wasn't none of us, so we looked around, wondering who did it, thinking that maybe we got us a burglar in the house. He looked around and we didn't see nothing, so we started to sing again. And sure enough, there was a big ah-choo. Sounded like it was coming from the bedroom. So I sent Otis in there and said, Otis, go in there and see who is sneezing. And so Otis went, and do you know what he found? I shook my head. Winn-Dixie, shouted Sweetie Pie. That dog of yours was hid underneath my bed. Squeezed under there like the world was about to end. But he was smiling like a fool every time he heard Otis play his guitar, smiling so hard it made him sneeze. My daddy laughed. It is true, Miss Franny said. It's the truth, said Stevie. Dunlap nodded and smiled right at me. So, Gloria Dump said, Otis played his guitar right to that dog, and little bit at a time, Winn-Dixie came creeping out from underneath the bed. He was covered in dust, said Amanda. He looked like a ghost, said Dunlap. Yeah, said Sweetie Pie, just like a ghost. Mm-hmm, said Gloria. Looked just like a ghost. Anyway, the storm stopped after a while, and your dog settled in underneath my chair and fell asleep. And that's where he's been ever since, just waiting on you to come back and find him. Winn-Dixie and I hugged Winn-Dixie, I said, and hugged him so tight he wheezed. We were out there whistling and calling for you, and you were right here all along. Thank you, I said to everybody. Well, said Gloria Dump, we didn't do nothing. We just sat here and waited and sang some songs. And we all got to be good friends. Now the punch ain't nothing but water, and the egg salad sandwiches got tore up by the rain. And we got to eat them with a spoon if you want an egg salad. But we got pickles to eat and litmus lozenges, and we still got a party going on. My daddy pulled out a kitchen chair and sat down. Otis, he said, do you know any hymns? I know some, said Otis. You hum it, said Miss Franny, nodding her head, and he can play it. So my daddy started humming something, and Otis started picking it out on his guitar. And Winn-Dixie wagged his tail and laid back underneath Gloria's chair. I looked around the room at all the different faces, and I felt my heart swell up inside with pure happiness. I'll be back 1 minute, I said. But they were all singing and laughing now, and Winn-Dixie was snoring, so no one heard me. Right, the end of chapter 25. Whew, guys. Winn-Dixie was found. I'm so happy. This whole book seemed to happen because of Winn-Dixie. I was going to be so sad if he got lost. See, my cat popped up behind me. He's almost a ghost. They mentioned Winn-Dixie was covered in dust there coming out of the bed where he was hiding. It looked like a ghost. Kind of my cat Martian behind me looks like a ghost blended into my white wall. But we're moving into chapter 26, guys, the final chapter. Opal stepped off by herself. So let's see how we end our book. Maybe someone pop back. And then I can't wait to get in and read who is your favorite character in this book and why. So I hope you've been thinking about it too. Final chapter. Outside, the rain had stopped and the clouds had gone away, and the sky was so clear it seemed like I could see every star ever made. I walked all the way to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. I walked back there and looked at her mistake tree. The bottles were quiet. There wasn't a breeze, so they were just hanging there. I looked at the tree, and then I looked up at the sky. Mama, I said, just like she was standing right beside me. I know 10 things about you, and that's not enough. That's not near enough. But Daddy is going to tell me more. I know he will, now that he knows you're not coming back. He misses you and I miss you, but my heart doesn't feel empty anymore. It's full all the way up. I still think about you, I promise. But probably not as much as I did this summer. That's what I said that night underneath Gloria Dump's mistake tree. And after I was done saying it, I stood just staring up at the sky, looking at the constellations and the planets. And then I remembered my own tree, the one Gloria had helped me plant. I hadn't looked at it for a long time. I went crawling around on my hands and knees searching for it. And when I found it, I was surprised at how much it had grown. It was still small. It looked more like a plant than a tree, but the leaves and branches felt strong and good and right. And I was down there on my knees when I heard a voice say, "Are you praying?" I looked up and it was Dunlap. "No," I said, "I'm not praying. I'm thinking." He crossed his arms and looked down at me. "About what?" he said. "All kinds of different things," I said. "I'm sorry that I called you and Stevie bald-headed babies." "That's all right," he said. "Gloria told me to come out here and get you. I told you she wasn't a witch." "I know it," he said. "I knew it all along. I was just teasing you." "Oh," I said. I looked at him close, and it was hard to see him good in the dark. "Ain't you ever going to stand up?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. And then he surprised me. He did something never in a million years I thought a Dewberry boy would do. He held out his hand to help me up, and I took it. I let him pull me to my feet. "I'll race you back to the house," Dunlap said, and he started to run. "Okay, but I'm warning you, I'm fast," I shouted. We ran, and I beat him. I touched the corner of Gloria Dump's house right before he did. "You shouldn't be running around in the dark," said Amanda. She was standing on the porch looking at us. "You could trip over something." "Amanda," said Dunlap, and he shook his head. "Amanda," I said too. And then I remembered Carson, and I felt bad for her. I went up to the porch and took a hold of her hand and pulled on her. "Come on," I said. "Let's go inside." "India Oakley," Daddy said when me and Amanda and Dunlap walked in. "Are you here to sing some songs with us?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Only I don't know many songs." "We'll teach you," he said. He smiled at me real big. It was a good thing to see. "That's right," said Gloria Dump. "We will." Sweetie Pie was still sitting in her lap, but her eyes were closed. "Care for a litmus lozenge?" Miss Franny asked, passing me the bowl. "Thank you," I told her. I took a litmus lozenge and unwrapped it and put it in my mouth. "Do you want a pickle?" Otis asked, holding up the big jar of pickles. "No, thank you," I said. "Not right now." Winn-Dixie came out from underneath Gloria Dump's chair. He sat down next to me and leaned into me the same as I was leaning into my daddy. And Amanda stood right there beside me, and when I looked over at her, she didn't look all pinched face at me. Dunlap cracked his knuckles and said, "Well, are we going to sing or what?" "Yeah," Stevie echoed. "Are we going to sing or what?" "Let's sing," said Sweetie Pie, opening her eyes and sitting up straight. All of a sudden, "Let's sing for the dog." Otis laughed and strummed his guitar, and the flavor of the litmus lozenge opened in my mouth like a flower blooming, all the sweet and the sad. And then Otis and Gloria and Stevie and Miss Franny and Dunlap and Amanda and Sweetie Pie and my daddy all started to sing a song, and I listened so carefully so I could learn it right. All right, the end. That was the end of our book, guys. You kind of see where we left off Opal. Talked to her mom. We never met her. I know a lot of you predicted in our discussions we would meet her, but I almost think it was better for our main character if we didn't. Please let me know your thoughts, who your favorite was. My favorite character, I think, was our main character. She did the most growth. Let me know what you think. Hope you like the book.